the energy, he'll do the rest. Martinez and Company, powered by Sports Radio 102.9 The Game.
You're going to hear it right here.
The show starts now.
Hello, and yes, good morning. It is Martinez Company. I am Angel Martinez here on the Coastal Sports Network, live on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game, and all over your social media platforms. Welcome to the folks who watch us on Pete's Facebook page, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, everywhere. Thank you guys for not only obviously coming back to listen to me this morning, but thank you for starting your day off with Pete Shepard, as Pete and I just went off at 7 o'clock this morning up until 10. Myself, Angel Martinez, with Martinez Company, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 12, and then followed by my hermano Rich Q later on this afternoon, the Drive with Q from 4 to 6 p.m. on his new time slot. So that is from 4 to 6 p.m. And then later on this evening will be Lloyd Vance with Lloyd Vance's Insider Football from 8 to about 9:15. There'll be a new show that'll be launching come next week. Once I get everything into place, I will let everyone know exactly what time that will end up being, and possibly something else here coming up in the very near future. So this weekend was a great weekend for some teams. For others, it wasn't as good. I'm also not 100% thoroughly convinced that anybody who believes in what the Eagles are doing, and yes, they won, right? And you would think I would be beyond happy because the Eagles ended up winning, but it's just more than that. This team still has to show and prove themselves, not us. We're just fans, right? Just broadcasters. But they have to show themselves that you do have the winning formula. Thankfully, they were able to pull off against the Saints. And yes, the defense was huge yesterday. That's for sure. And the Eagles were able to walk away with that win. But who knows? I don't know what's going to happen next week. They have to travel to Tampa. Obviously, we have a pending hurricane, for those who don't know. Normally, we get it from the western side of Africa, comes across the Atlantic, and then wraps around somewhere eventually when I'm getting it. Now, for the second time, again, we've had now a coastal system that's brewing up nearby South America and Cuba, and that could be coming our way come Wednesday, Thursday. So as I mentioned on Pete's show, in case you guys weren't tuned in this morning, on Pete's show, I mentioned that in case we do have inclement weather because of, obviously, from system outages and stuff that can end up happening. If you don't hear us live, then I will try to do my best to make sure I post it up on social media so that you guys understand, what's going on. And hopefully we won't get it. None of us need it. Between us and Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Lord knows that Louisiana, they don't need it. But there's another system brewing. Hopefully it won't be a major one, but right now we're watching all the models, and apparently, yes, I'll do the weather here for a second, that they're saying it could turn out to be a major hurricane. Speaking of, by the way, as I get into the Hurricanes USF recap, also up in Cedar Keys, there was a historical building over 100 years plus old, and it has survived many a hurricane. But this weekend, apparently, or at the end of last week, towards the weekend, it was to come to fire. And it's a shame because if you guys have never been out to Cedar Key, it's a beautiful small town right off of 19. It's a great town, great time to go up there and visit if you're a tourist in the area. But unfortunately, one of the older buildings, one of the most historical buildings out there is Cedar Key. Again, it survived hurricane after hurricane, but unfortunately came down because of fire. And it's a shame. Hopefully they'll end up rebuilding that to make things better. But this weekend, man, what a weekend around the NFL. What a weekend around college. It was just absolutely lunacy on Saturday's games, followed by Sunday's games. And I just want to know if you're a Vegas odds maker, right? Because everybody knows before you could only travel to Vegas and make your bets out in Vegas. Now, of course, here in Florida, you have the Hard Rock betting app. And I don't even know how much either they've paid out or they probably have won back, because there are games, and we're going to end up recapping them as well, that is just kind of not mind-numbing. I want to say mind-blowing, but more of mind-numbing, where you would just think, hey, if I pick this team that's almost a guaranteed sure bet to win, that end up winning. For example, the Chicago Bears. I picked them to win. Colts proved me otherwise. I believe I could be wrong, but I have to go back and take a look. I'm almost certain I went with the Giants, and I do believe the Giants end up holding off and winning. But again, any given Sunday, anything can happen. Now, Saturday afternoon out there at Raymond James Stadium. First of all, thank you to all the fine folks. There was so many Hurricane fans that came from Miami. And there's a lot of them that obviously live here in Tampa because we are a melting pot of sorts of college teams, pro teams, people who move from different areas and stuff. And you got a lot of folks who live up north and they like, this, the southern teams. I remember in Philly, there was people that used to love the Florida Gators. Ryan Neff was one of those guys that also loved the Gators as well. So there's people that actually love to the teams down here, even though we are Penn State fans. I know I was a Penn State fan, same way I was a Temple fan. But there's a lot of folks that end up enjoying the teams down here. But nonetheless, on Saturday, walking through the tailgate and walking around the outside of Raymond James Stadium, it was just, other than people laughing, joking, smiling, no fights, no, people getting under other people's skin. It was great to see all the fans that were there and how much, and I do see that looks like Penguin AZ already this morning. Good morning, Amano Angel Martinez and company. How about that Packers defense? Yeah, listen, the Packers for sure, the Packers end up doing something amazing. The Packers looking good. Listen, and take away Jordan Love. I mean, your backup did a phenomenal job, but Green Bay's defense, listen, it's standing up. If you're going to wait for Jordan Love to come back, and there was a lot of adjustments that had to be made week one, obviously out there in Sao Paulo, but Green Bay looked good. But when it comes to USF over the weekend, the fan base was absolutely outstanding. The bands were, played stellar. The team itself, USF, and I don't want people to take away because of the way the outcome of this game was. Yes, it was lopsided 50-15, but the first half, USF's defense was definitely standing toe-to-toe to Miami's offense. Cam Ward, who seems to be unstoppable at times, played a lights-out game. He really did. Byron Brown for USF, the same way too, ended up playing really well in the first half. Did not throw a passing touchdown. And it was just, you can see where it was coming together. But the differences, and both teams had penalties, but it was the not so smart penalties. And there isn't any smart penalty, first of all. But the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm not here to come down on USF, and I'm not going to come down on USF. It was just because they know the mistakes they made. The penalties were the bigger killers in this game. You guys saw me when I was tweeting it out from the press box. That's exactly what it was. And you would have to have two tail of different halves. And we did see two tail of different halves. The difference was Miami ended up taking over that second half. But the first half, close game. Again, both offenses were moving. Both defenses were stellar. I think USF was just a little bit better. This game could have gone out of control in the first half, but USF defense did such a great job. Alex Golish, by the way, a great head coach. I think it was a brilliant hire by USF, and he will continue to learn from this. Again, you guys know that last year they ended up going to a bowl and winning a bowl. First year head coach to come off with a bowl win is absolutely difficult to do. But 2-2, USF could have been a lot worse than what could have been even on Saturday. But there's a lot of good takeaways that will come from that. The biggest one, and I'm pretty sure the adjustment will be, is I'm pretty sure the team's off today. And not only obviously because of their gameplay on Saturday, or then again, it could be at practice today because I forget about Sunday. But, and obviously their academics as well. But the biggest takeaway would end up being is just the penalties. That truthfully is what ended up putting USF on the wrong side of the ball. And it was silly mistakes. It was like one after the other. Some calls, there was a couple of them that were questionable, or the way the refs ended up doing it. But nonetheless, that was the difference between the game. Cam Ward, once again, scrambling. There was a couple of times where USF defense in the second half just couldn't keep up with what Miami was doing. But this was, I believe, just about a sold-out stadium. And the only thing was right around the fourth, and it was maybe a couple minutes after the fourth is when you could kind of see the exit of USF fans. Now, even though I'm the same way, my wife's the same exact way, we like to hang around no matter what team is winning or losing. We hang around. You paid for it. Why not? You root on your team no matter what happens. Lord knows I've been to Lincoln Financial Field when obviously been on the winning side, but also been on the losing side. I didn't get out of there. I've been to Phillies games. Same exact way. I don't leave. I'll stay there. I paid for it. So why not? Of course, this weekend was different because I was up there in the press box. And by the way, let me just say to the USF staff, they are just beyond stellar at what they do. how they take care of you, ask you if you need anything. You know, if you have any questions, they're there to help out. They do such a phenomenal job. USF, and you guys heard me, I did a video on Friday. I put a cut together from the beginning of my show on Friday. But USF knows how to do things well, and they represent really well. And I don't think I heard anybody up in that press box complain about anything whatsoever, because anything you needed was literally right there at your fingertips. I think there was one person that I know that was a scout, and another gentleman, I believe from Pittsburgh as well. But he said the electric wasn't working. I kid you not, probably like a minute later, the power is up so he can power up his laptop. But USF just does things so well. So well. And so I just want to give a shout out to the school, because again, you go up to that press box and it's just professionalism, period. Now, Byron Brown will only continue to get better as the season progresses. You guys heard me mention, if you were tuning in to the Pete Shepard Show, was that Memphis lost to Navy. That's big for USF, as they will face them here coming up shortly. But I want to get into a little bit of the recap from Saturday's game now to start things off. And Damian Martinez for Miami, him, who is my other guy, Restrepo, both of these two guys, along with Cam Ward, obviously, Cam Ward's draft just continues to go up. Now, I don't know if he plans on, obviously declaring himself for the NFL draft. And if he is, whomever gets this young man and his professionalism, just like, and believe me when I tell you, I'm not taking anything away from Byron Brown either, because the same way, he's got some crazy energy. And if he continues to develop the way he's going right now, he is going to do well in the NFL, because you couldn't break him no matter what. There was a hit that he did take where the helmet ended up coming off, and then he was hit by another helmet, not intentional. It wasn't like someone ripped his helmet off and decided to bang his head with the other helmet. It's just the way the pocket collapsed, how he was trying to push forward. He wasn't out. That was a good thing. I don't believe he was concussed, but I know we didn't see a lot of them come to second half, so it could have been a possibility. And I'm pretty sure as the week goes on, we'll get an update from him. But he tried his best to make things going for USF. So a couple of guys are going to be coming out from, I'm pretty sure, going into the pros. I mean, they're just doing a phenomenal job. But first score of the game, it was by Damian Martinez, a 2-yard run. And then Andreas Borregales, who ended up kicking the extra point, made it 7-0 Miami. Time possession was 3 minutes and 29 seconds. And it could have been, honestly, it could have been a lot worse, but this was early on during the game. Then at 8:28, Nico Gramatica. Now, I know one of my tweets I put out there is Martin Gramatica, but that's because obviously the sun doesn't fall far from the successful tree that is Grammatica's. And I want to see, I mean, listen, this kid, he's going to get tons and tons of looks by the NFL, including scouts that I'm pretty sure they were in attendance. But if I'm Tampa Bay and I know that I can keep this kid right in my backyard, I would do, and I'm pretty sure they probably will, given the fact of Martin Grammatica's success in Tampa Bay. I would definitely keep this kid here, because he hit a 58-yard field goal. And that was 8 plays, 35 yards. And the time possession was 3 minutes and 2 seconds, which made it 7-3. But he hit that ball. He launched that thing like if Byron was just getting ready to freaking launch it down the field. So this is another product that's going to be coming out of USF ranks that will make it into the NFL. Then later on, with 6:52, it was Byron Brown, 12-yard pass from Atkins, Sean Atkins, 3 plays. The pass touchdown, but they considered for a run for Sean Atkins. That was 3 plays, 30 yards, time possession, only 44 seconds, and drove it down to make it 9-7. Now, at this point, everybody's feeling good for USF because, again, they were standing toe-to-toe, both defenses, but USF's defense, and I know Coach Golish talked about in his presser that maybe there was like a little bit of wind out of the sail coming out for USF. But at this point in the game, and me watching it from the press box, was you feel like, okay, there's a good chance the USF can stand in this game. And if they were going at the route that they were going at that point, USF could have put the first loss in Miami's loss column. But later on, Miami's Isaiah Horton, a 6-yard pass from Cam Ward, 8 plays, any yards, the time possession was 4 minutes and 59 seconds. That made it 14-9 again. It made it 14-9 at the half, or excuse me, before the half. And then coming up on the second, just before the half, Nico Gramatica, 51-yard field goal. That made it as well. 7 plays, 42 yards, 2 minutes, 33 seconds, which made it now 14-12. And then you had John Gannon, or 45-yard field goal, 19 plays, 66 yards, time possession, 8 minutes and 30 seconds. The only thing that kind of threw me off there is I didn't see Nico get injured. I don't know if maybe the 58-yarder for whatever it was, maybe they didn't take him up, but he had the 51-yarder that followed, and then Gannon comes in. But at that point, it's 15-14, and then Miami scores with Samuel Brown, 76-yard pass from Cam Ward, 2 plays, 80 yards, 37 seconds, time of possession, made it 22-15. And at that point, you still felt like USF was very much in this. There was nothing going into the half that felt any different. It just felt like they were just on a roll. Things were going well. USF gets the ball back at the second half. Did not do anything at that point with it. But, of course, Damian Martinez, 1-yard run, 12 plays, 80 yards, 5 minutes, 51 seconds, made it now 29-15 Miami. And then with 55 ticks left in the third, Damian Martinez, once again, a 1-yard run, 7 plays, 80 yards, 2 minutes, 53 seconds, made it 36-15. And at that point, then you start feeling, okay, even when it was 29-15, you thought USF would still be hanging around. Once it became 36, and I even put it out there on social media, was that you started kind of feeling the little upside down coming, and now basically Miami was in control. And USF's defense, you can kind of see again, I think Coach Golish had talked about it, that you can kind of start seeing the wind coming out of their sail. In the fourth, it was Restrepo, a 5-yard pass from Cam Ward, 10 plays, 80 yards, 5 minutes and 36 seconds, total time of possession. At that point, it was 43-15, and then the lights out run in the fourth. And I couldn't believe my eyes because I even mentioned on Pete's show, Jordan Lyle looked like someone put a jetpack on his back, and he was just gone and off to the races. A 91-yard run, 3 plays, 96 yards, a minute 39 time of possession, and that finally made it 50-15. And it was just insane to think of how USF, leading up to this game, everybody knew that, it was a hype, there was a talk about it, and Coach could have spun it a whole different way. He could have thought about, this is not going to be our time, however which way you want to say it. But nonetheless, USF hung in there. The defense hung in there all night long. The offense tried as well. If I get the update from Brown, I will let you guys know over on the socials. But again, the second half, didn't see too much of Byron Brown in the second half. But nonetheless, USF has nothing to hang their heads low about because this was a tough match. And I mentioned that it was going to be the toughest match of the season so far. Now, again, Memphis loss is something good for USF. So we'll see, because they'll be playing them at home not too long from now. So I'm hoping to get back out there again in the press box out there for USF, bring you guys some more excitement. Nonetheless, it was an exciting game. I thought, again, both did well. Miami Hurricanes fans end up hanging around after the game was over. The Canes players by Mario Cristobal told them to come out, and they did. They were high-fiving the fans that were left over. And like I said, it was a really good, both sides. No one got under anyone's skin that I can see as I walked around Raymond James Stadium prior to the game, went down to the field looking up at the stands, and everybody was just fine. So it was a great game overall by USF. I would expect no less. They'll regroup all over again, get ready for this upcoming week. USF falls to 2-2. Canes go up 4-0. For the season. So listen, is it too early to talk about obviously bowl games? The way Miami's going right now, it's a pretty good spot to be in. But I know one person for sure that will love to be there at a bowl game would be Gas Pump Guy. If I have him here on the line, Gas Pump Guy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I surely can. So listen, your Canes, I know we're going to get into some Bucks talk, which I think we're all kind of surprised that the Bucks end up losing. But your Canes looked good on Saturday. And is it too early to say maybe a high bowl game for the Canes?
No, not really. I mean, if they just keep on the pace that they're going, I mean, and in all of the games, they scored over 40 points and held the other teams pretty low. I think the highest point was 23. I think when they played against, I think they played Florida and they got into the 20s, I think. But anyway, they're on pace. I mean, Cam Ward's doing his thing. Restrepo's doing his thing. Arroyo is doing his thing. Martinez is doing his thing. And I just want to touch on what you said about the running back, the freshman running back that came in. I think I texted you and I was like, man, this guy is a red shirt. And he just ran like he knew what was going on.
Yeah, and the funny part is he had room, but from our angle, it didn't look like he had that much room to actually run. But I mean, it looked like someone literally put a jetpack on his back, like he was gone. Once he saw the whole opening, it was gone. You hear the term, run it like you stole it. And that's what it felt like. I felt like he took the pigskin, stole it, and then was trying to run out the stadium with it because that's how fast he was going up the field. And again, not taking anything away from USF because USF played such a stellar game. And Coach has a lot to be proud of with this team because it could have been a lot worse the way Miami's been playing as of late. But the one thing I will say, you guys are going to have to enjoy this short-lived success because you got to figure, you guys have at least, I would say 5 to 6 players that are going to be coming out of this team into the draft. For Restrepo, I will love to see him. Absolutely love to see him as a Philadelphia Eagle. And I know there were a couple of, scouts that were there. I won't name who was there other than obviously the guy that I mentioned about when in Pittsburgh because he was trying to get some juice in. But, everybody knows in college, the scouts are there. But I would love to see the Eagles pick him up. And Damian Martinez, you were texting about that over on Saturday as well. That kid has got some oomph behind him. He's just a bag of muscle.
Oh yeah, that dude I can't say enough about that kid. That kid, if you need a couple yards, he'll get you a couple yards. If you need a lot of yards, he can get you a lot of yards. And that's a good thing about having a back like that you can count on him on the short ones and count on him on the long ones also. And even with the rookie that ran at the end, it looks like he's going to be just the same as Martinez.
Yep.
So, but I just want to touch on another thing. I heard you talking about it, Nico. Man, if the Bucks could get him to be our kicker, I like our McLaughlin. I like him. He's good. But man, that kid has a leg on him, man. 56 was the longest or 58 was the longest he kicked? That's crazy.
Yep, it is. It is absolutely insane. I want to, and I'm only questioning the Bucs staff because we've seen the contracts they've kind of like somewhat passed up on, or it takes them forever to figure out exactly what they want. Nico needs to be a Buck. He needs to be.
Mm-hmm. He's got his legend there. I think Martinez is his dad or his uncle. I really didn't catch. They mentioned it a little bit, but I didn't catch what they said. So either his dad or even his uncle played too. So he's got good genes in him.
He does. I think Martin took his leg off and just replaced it with Nico's, and then he'll just once he's done with his career, he'll just give it back to Martin. But it was. Listen, it was a really good game. The crowd, like I had mentioned before, the crowd was just stellar, man. I'm a huge fan, obviously, of Philly because that's where I came from. That's where I'll always be from, no matter even if I've been down here for the last 5 years in Tampa. But I will say, for Raymond James Stadium, and it's Raymond James Stadium has grown on me. It's the only place, by the way, if you guys never heard me say this, is the only place that you will get a reverse tan. And gas pump guy, if you've been there before, you kind of feel that as well. When the sun bounces off that concrete and you're in the stands, I'm telling you that your back will get just as fried as your front because that's how hot it gets there. But the great advantage of what I had up in the press box is when you look at both end zones, right? You got the Buccaneer ship on the left. You have the, kind of like the tiki stands, tiki huts on the right. You're looking at everybody on the field, all the fans, the players, everything that's going on. And it really does make you feel good that you're in the Tampa Bay area and it's just watching all together. And like I said, USF put together, from start to finish, it is such a phenomenal job. Now I wouldn't expect any less from USF as they continue to be the school that everybody wants to be. As I mentioned them there, you have Ohio State, the university, the Ohio State. I said that come USF should be the hashtag that university, because that's what everybody's chasing after is actually USF. But I mean, just looking at it overall, and it's such a great atmosphere at Ray J. I know, unfortunately, where it was made was not this kind of like the smartest move, just because of where the main artery of Tampa is for traffic, because you got the airport nearby, 275, 41. I mean, everything is right there. I wish the only thing was that the Rays would have been smart years ago before Steinbrenner came in and put the Yankees where they are right now, their minor league team. That would have been a great spot for the Rays. But, I mean, it's just Raymond James Stadium has really grown on me. Kind of weird to say, but it's really grown on me. And I think it's just because of the people and the atmosphere, especially when you hear the cannons go off during the national anthem. I mean, it's just, it's so much fun. So I'm quite sure you've been there before.
Oh yeah. That's a feeling. Like, I know they say when you watch sports in person, it's different than when you watch on TV, but going to a Bucks game and hearing those cannons go off when they get in the red zone, you know they're going to go off, but every time they go off, it's like you get a little flinch. You're like, oh, dang, that was loud, you know?
Yeah.
It's a great feeling to feel.
It does make you jump. I'm not going to lie, because the first time I forgot about it. I watched it many times. And it, again, I'll kind of bring this up. When I lived in Philly, I remember watching when it was, I mean, you're looking at 25, 33 degrees, February. Now the Phillies have packed up their truck. They went out of Clearwater. I used to be so stinking jealous. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, these guys are down here in sunshine. Like in February, there's many times you can get up in the high 80s. Most of the time, I would say about the 70s. That's when we get kind of like a cool down effect around here, but it warms up. But I used to remember, like, man, look at this. Are you freaking kidding me? And on the flip side was, whenever they showed a Tampa game, you know, let's say it was like Tampa, Minnesota, or whatever, Cincinnati, but I remember watching people near Christmas, and I would look at the fans at Rage, I'm like, you guys suck. You guys suck because you're getting beautiful weather, and here we are freezing our asses off, and you guys are down here in shorts and T-shirts and enjoying life. Now I get to reap those rewards being down here, which is absolutely nice, but it's just, Ray J is really nice. I love the upgrades that they did. Once they won the Super Bowl, they added more upgrades to it. I did see the Vince Lombardi trophy, not the trophy itself, but I saw the mural that they painted on the west side of the stadium. And it's really nice. The facilities, everything about it is really nice. So listen, hats off to the Bucks and the way they do things and make sure that the fan experience is really good. The same way to USF. I mean, hats off to them as well, because that was such an exhilarating experience. I mean, it's so much fun. I had the opportunity last year when FAU came, and I was down there on the field and taking pictures and talking to folks. And hopefully the next time around, I'll get more of an opportunity to talk to people. I was not trying to be on the field that long because I know there was a ton of activity. So I plus had to get ready for the game itself. But just a great time. But now, Bucks.
Let's talk about the trash.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I'm just as surprised as you, I think, from what happened, because I did not expect what we all witnessed. That Denver, I mean, you talk about, look at Detroit from the week before. I mean, you and I were texting even back and forth throughout that game, and no one knew. I mean, who knew that they were going to stand toe to toe with Detroit? And we're not mentioning anything bad about the Bucks either. I mean, their defense is, as well. We're hoping that Vita Vea comes back, maybe possibly this week, if not the following week. But you look at the Detroit game, it's like, wow, this should be a really good game at home versus Denver. Denver comes into town, and I don't know what Bucks team showed up, because it wasn't what we saw the week before. Now it's any given Sunday. We all know this. In our records, I bring up our pigskin pig records up here momentarily, which I believe there's like a 3-way tie now for first. But just, I don't know what happened, Gaspon guy. What went wrong?
Well, first of all, on defense, we didn't have Vea, and that just goes to show you how much Vea really does clog up the middle. I mean, they ran on us, they passed on us. The secondary, I have no excuse for the secondary. You didn't even hear Whitehead's name, not even maybe once or twice, I believe. And Jamel Dean was just getting beat. He had some good passes defended, but overall, I think he was just getting beat on the outside with I can't remember what his name's slipping my mind right now, but the offensive line, they couldn't the defense and the offense on the Denver Broncos look like what the Bucks looked like before, if that makes any sense. Their linemen were blocking, their linemen were holding the pockets. I mean, Nick's had all day to throw back there. He could have went and sat on the sideline, had a drink, came back, and still had time. I mean, that's just how much their line was pushing our defensive line back, and that's sorry, excuse me. That's crazy to me because I'm not going to say one man is the defense, but having Vea in there really sets the tone and really boosts up the energy. And I just think the Broncos line, they were better that day, and the offensive line, they were better that day. I mean, we had Luke Gedeke out on the offense, so that just goes to show you, having one guy out on one line and one guy out on the line on the other line, that just goes to show you how much they actually help and make everybody better.
I'd have to agree with you. I really have to agree with you. And Baker Mayfield did not look, as a lot of people are saying now, shooketh. I guess is a new thing that people are saying. But listen, it's 1 week. Everybody knows this. It was, to me, I think a lot of us expected to see a different outcome with the Bucs, and not taking anything away from Denver, because obviously Bo Nix and the Broncos are rebuilding. They're going to get better as time goes on. No different than the Bears are going to get better, even though they disappointed me on Sunday as well. But nonetheless, Baker Mayfield, you have now the Eagles coming to town. You know how I've been feeling about the Eagles as of late. I don't expect for the Eagles to come in here and manhandle the Bucs. I also don't believe, and I'm not trying to be a homer by any means, because I'm not coming on here and saying on my own show that the Eagles are going to come over here and take care of business in the Bucs, because they've lost, let's not forget, 2 out of the last 3 meetings in Tampa. So this is, again, reset, new week, different temperature, different climate, and we'll see, because, hopefully we won't get this hurricane that they're talking about, or at least not turn into a major hurricane that they're saying that it has a 90% probability of turning into a major hurricane, because then, it may not. I don't know if they would switch and put it on a neutral field somewhere, or whatever case may be, but depending on what ends up happening here, because I know, for example, Philly Sports Trips with Vince Rizzuto and those guys, they like to come down at least about 4 or 5 days in advance. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people that are coming in from out of town for this one, we don't know what's going to be like. But you got Eagles are coming into town, squeaked a win off of New Orleans. But I'm quite sure if Vita Vea comes back, some of the guys who have been banged up for the Bucs end up coming back this week, they will stand toe-to-toe with Philly's offense. And the Eagles' offense has got to get better. They're just not in sync, and I'll yell and scream about that a little bit later on. But I think coming up this Sunday, it should be, I would think, a better outcome that we saw last week from both the Eagles and Tampa Bay. But to me, I'm still stunned about the loss. What's your feeling like? And I know we'll go over it again on Friday, but what's your feeling just now at the beginning of the week? Things can change, because we'll see. We'll hear the injury front from Todd Bowles later on. But what's your feeling like right now as the Eagles are coming into town on Sunday?
I'm gonna speak honestly, because that's how we do it on this show, obviously. As much as I don't like the Eagles and how they're playing, I mean, I know they're not playing very well, but I'm a little scared. Not a lot, just a little bit. But just because of the way the Bucs played yesterday. And like you said, it's week to week. But today, I am worried that if we don't get Vea back, if we don't get Gedeke back, if we don't get Winfield back, I'm worried that they might be able to throw it over the top on us, because they're going to have all day, because our defense won't be able to get to them and get that push that we usually get. I mean, we got some good edge rushers and stuff, but like I said, I think Vea just brings a whole nother energy to our defense, and then he just makes everybody better, elevates everybody, because a lot of people like to double team Vea, so that leaves another guy open on the line that can get through the rush. He's always getting double teamed, so that'll help on our defense. If we get those guys back, I'll feel better. But if we don't get those guys back, I'll be worried.
You
Yeah. And the offensive side, Baker just, I don't know. He needs to fact check and don't let things get to his head. I mean, I'm not saying anything got to his head from the Detroit game, but it seemed like Baker was second guessing himself and not throwing the ball when he needed to get it out faster, and not going for a run. There was 2 times where he could have went up for a run and he hesitated and he got sacked. He got sacked like 4 times, I believe, and that can't happen. If you're gonna run, just commit to it and go. Don't second guess yourself, because he can run. He's a good runner, and he can move around and make people miss. I mean, you see what he did to the defensive. I think it was the linebacker for the Detroit, man. He made him look like he was skating. So they're there. They got the talent, man. They just need to step it up and correct some mistakes. And also, I wanted to touch on the phantom penalty that we got there close to the end with our Graham Barton. They said he moved, but I watched the replay and I didn't see anybody move. So I don't know what that was all about, but maybe got the Kansas City Chiefs calling our game or something.
I forget what game we were watching yesterday, other than that one where, who was, why am I drawing a blank on Brady's game?
Oh, the Cowboys.
There you go. So you talk about flags. He got upset at one point or another. He started getting upset on the broadcast because it just seemed like flag after flag. As soon as they put it in their pocket, here comes another flag. It was just flag after flag after flag. And I'll get into that as well when it comes to the Dallas game, because Dallas fans, boy, you guys talk about like feeling good 1 second. And then, the crowd was like, it was quiet. And everybody's like, oh, man, we could possibly pull this out. But when they panned out to the crowd originally, it was just, people were excited. They're hoping not to see another loss, when it comes to the Cowboys. And then, it just seemed like, I don't know what happened to the Ravens. It felt like, to me, in the fourth, they were like, you know what, let's just put in the second and third stringers out there. And then Dallas ends up getting 2 onside kicks. One, because obviously it bounced off of one of the Ravens, but then getting the ball back and drive it twice. I'm surprised they didn't go for a third onside kick in a row. I guess they thought they would be able to stop Baltimore. I know, obviously, Dak was probably a little bit gassed because he just went 2 straight series. But if, to me, you just paid me $239 million, try the onside kick again. Let's see if we can drive. Now, as an Eagles fan, great. They lost because of the division. It just adds a little more to the Eagles and obviously the Commanders as well, which they played tonight against. And I'm not a fan of this double Monday nighter. I'm just not. I know Buffalo takes on Jacksonville. That should be a Buffalo win. And then you have Cincinnati and Washington. I don't foresee Cincinnati losing and starting out 0-3. I know every year they just seem to have this kind of slow start. I just don't see it. But Dallas fans, I just, boy, oh boy, you guys, and obviously you're not a Dallas fan, Gasp guy, but I'm talking about the folks who listen in, because I know we have people that are listening in from Dallas and from the Texas area in general, Texas State, the Lone Star State. But when you watch the crowd, you can just see, it was like, oh my God, is this going to be another loss? And just to be re-energized, to then just basically have the win. I mean, the sail was up. They had all 3 sails. They were watching their yacht just go, and they watched their catamaran just keep going. And then all of a sudden, someone just came with a big old harpoon, like, nope, that's it. Goodbye, Dallas. You guys are done. So it makes me happy nonetheless. But we'll get into that and a couple more things. I don't know. Can you hang around, Gaspon guy, or you have to? I know you're.
No, I can hang around for a little bit. I'll let you know if I need to go, like I always do.
All right. I appreciate it. Well, we're going to go into a commercial break here because I do have to pay some bills around here. It is 1040 Martinez Company. I am Angel Martinez here on the Coastal Sports Network and live on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Don't forget to visit SR 1029 The Game. As you guys see on the banner across the screen, as soon as I drop Gaspon's guy name up there, do us a favor, download the app so you guys do not miss any of our live programming. And then, of course, some of the programming you guys will hear repeated throughout the day as we continue to add more shows here to the Coastal Sports Network. So do us a favor, visit SR1029thegame.com. And don't visit just because of the app. Visit so you guys can see the different shows that we have up there, the USF content, Tampa Bay Sun Football Club that's up there as well. So just take a look, browse around, hang around if you like. soon, hopefully, God willing, the merchandise is coming. So hopefully that will come soon. So you guys, we would appreciate the patronage as well. But we thank you all for coming back and watching us here on the social medias. Don't forget, you can call or text the show at 727-858-6650. 727-858-6650, like my hermano Penguin AZ did in the very beginning. So we're going to take here a commercial break. When we come back, on the other side, along with Gas Pump Guy, will be joining me is Duncan Dad, and I would like to get his thoughts, as we haven't gotten really into Eagles talk yet. But I want to play what Nick Sirianni said afterwards, and I just want to get his take along with other Eagles fans. And we appreciate everyone who tunes in. So we're going to take a small break here. We'll be back. You are listening to Martinez and Company live on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Jardiniere.
Phil Castanetti Sports World in Saugus, Mass. is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Don't miss the return of the legend, former Bruins goalie Tim Thomas. Tim will be at Sports World on Saturday, October 5th from noon until 2 p.m. Tim will be signing and taking photos. Prices vary, so don't miss this awesome event. Saturday, October 5th at Sports World, 184 Broadway in Saugus, Massachusetts. Call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Don't just follow us on the socials. Call or text the show 727-858-6650 and let us know what's on your mind. Now back to Martinez and Company.
Welcome back, Martinez and Company here live on a Monday, post-game Monday, football Monday. After the fact, there's two games are getting ready to be played tonight. It will be Buffalo and Jacksonville. That starts at 7:30 on ESPN. And then, of course, over on ABC will be Cincinnati, Washington. Cincinnati looking for the first win. The Commanders are looking to go 2-1. But as the party line now grows, it is Rick Marcus on the line along with Duncan Dad here joining me live. But Rick, how are you?
Good morning, Angel. Doing pretty good. Yourself?
Good. Listen, I know that we're expecting some ugly weather coming up here. So if I need a private plane, would you go wheels up for me?
Absolutely. Hey, speaking of ugly things, I am right now on I-4 heading towards SeaWorld, and the traffic is ugly.
It's never good. It's never good on I-4. I-4 is always a driveling mess. And anybody and everybody freaking knows it's unfortunately it stinks no matter which way you look at it. But what your thoughts here is we're starting getting into some Eagles talk, and I know you're just as passionate as I am here, like everyone else. But I want to get your thoughts before I get into Duncan Dad, and then before I even bring up the sounder of Nick Sirianni, which I'm starting to call him more and more Mike McDaniels Jr. because that semi rah-rah speech that he gave at the very end of the game, I'm not impressed. Pete played this morning. I think Pete did it just to drive me bananas this morning, but I'm just not impressed about the win. But how are you feeling after the day after?
Well, I mean, I'm impressed at the fact that some of the guys stepped up when you had Lane Johnson go down, you had Devontae Smith go down, and some of the other guys. It just amazed me how they did step up to the plate to win the game. I actually felt worse about Sirianni this week than I did last week because I thought he made some really poor decisions.
Yeah,
I mean, really poor.
Yeah, and that's what's irritating me even more is that once again I don't know what it is with fourth and let's go for it. How about fourth and let's punt it, or fourth and let's take the points. Do something other than the same norm week after week. The only good thing was that Vic Fangio, which I mentioned this morning on the Pete Shepard Show, was that Vic Fangio seemed like he must have dusted a page off his 1976 playbook and made the safety work because at least this time, unlike last week we saw the My Pillow defense from Mike Lindell. This weekend, at least, I don't know, maybe it was what's the story I'm looking for? Maybe Ross. I don't know. Maybe we got to see a better defense overall. I mean, it was a better game. It's just to me, I hope that if you end up coming off this win here, you don't revert back to either week 1 or week 2. And I know they came off a win. I know it wasn't the best conditions out there in Sao Paulo, but I just don't want to see them reverting backwards.
Well, that's the big question. What team will show up when they come down here to Tampa?
That's what I want to see. And it stinks because we don't know. It seems like Tampa has their number down here. And now it's the first time they're going to face Baker Mayfield down here in Tampa. And Tampa coming off their loss, they're going to be hungry for a win as well. But I want to bring up before I get Duncan Dad's thoughts as well. Here is the post game by Nick Sirianni. The win over the Saints, that was a complete win. But the defense, though, and this is credit to the Eagles website.
Guys, that's a complete team win. When one phase isn't working, the other one has the other one's back. I'm so proud of you. That's how you respond. That's how you respond. That's a response. Nobody had any doubt when we were coming here. Defense,
I love y'all boys, man. Love the hell out of y'all. We came in here, we fucking dominated, bro. I want to ride and die with this team. Ride and die.
Who let Patrick Mahomes in the building?
We got each other's back. Hurry up, right?
all we need is this people in this room, and that's it.
Dung Dad, your thoughts?
My thoughts. Hey, it's a win, right? It's a win. Everybody around here is back on the bandwagon, dismissing everything that's happening with Jalen Hurts and the way that he plays quarterback. Defensive line, they stepped up, but let's not forget that 3 plays into the game, the Saints lost their starting center. So their starting center goes out. Obviously, the little red gets in the eyes of the bull rushers up front. They pin their ears back, and they go to town against the backup. Shut down Kamara a little bit, forced Carr to do a little bit, a little more with the ball. But again, when it came down to it, Olave was still open down the slot. He still found space late in the game. Had to push them downfield. As for the team, Rick's right. It's who's going to show up. What team is going to show up for these guys, and what are they going to let them run? Right? What's the offense going to be? We talked about last week about having an identity. Who are you? What are you going to do? And Sirianni, I'm going to do the same thing. That's who I am. Okay, so you're the guy that's going to continue to miss opportunities to take points on the board when you can get them early, and put yourself in a position to where you don't have to come back. Right? Like that's I don't understand this. Like you're able to get points, take the points. You're on the road. You held them. Get some points on the board, put some pressure back on them. But then he goes for a 60-yard field goal and flips the field for the Saints. So his offense got bailed out. 3 Saints defenders run into each other on a tight end crossing pattern from the other side of the field. He just happens to turn it all the way up, 65-yard gain. Kudos to them rediscovering Dallas Goedert, top 5 tight end in the league. But it took Devontae Smith getting his head taken off, right? It took Covey going out. It took A.J. Brown not suiting up. Who are you going to be? And thank goodness that Saquon Barkley is on this team. The only person that I really, really saw that I would consider, and again, hang me out to dry with this, that looked genuine on the sideline trying to fire people up was Saquon. He was in his O-line's face, in the defense saying, come on, let's go. Keep pushing it. Be persistent. Stay focused on the game. He's not screaming at the fans, waving his hands, being all Jalen Carter. He's not trying to incite stuff. It's like, come on, feed him the ball. Let's go. Let's run. And Hurts is still Hurts. I mean, like people, like he's saved because he's got this amazing stat line, right? Look at Jalen Hurts, 29 to 38, 311, 1 interception. A lot of that stuff is just garbage yards.
Yeah.
If these 2 guys don't run into each other, take 75 yards right off of that total. It's unbelievable how quick everybody here flipped back to being like, well, he's just doing what he needs to do. He's improvising. He's leading the team. He's taking them down the field. He is, right? He's making these plays, but you should not be in that position to make those plays. That's the bottom line.
No, good valid points. Rick, I don't know if you want to add to that one, but that's some good valid points. I don't know if it's Rick there. Maybe Rick signed off. Gaston guy, you still there?
We dropped there. Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is. All right. Well, maybe Rick dropped off, but at least we still have Gaston guy. So, or do I hear Rick? Rick, do I hear in the background or no?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. No, I was asking to see if you wanted to add any more to what Duncan Dad just stated.
No, I think he hit it right. Hit the nail right on the head. Again, like I said earlier, it's just curious of what team is going to show up. I know there's a lot of injuries right now, and so maybe it's just a wash between the injuries Tampa has and the injuries that the Eagles have. I just hope A.J. Brown comes back. So we'll see.
He's going to have to at this point.
Thank the injured team.
Oh, you're welcome, Rick. No problem. Thank you for calling in. We do appreciate it. And by the way, don't forget, I'll have you on standby so we can load up the fuel to one of the jets there down here in Tampa, and we can get out of Dodge. But hopefully we'll miss this hurricane. And Rick may have signed off. All right. So for those who don't know, I've been talking about it since with Pete this morning, and obviously here now with myself and Guest Bum Guy. We're both down here in the Florida area, of course, down in Southwest Florida. Gaslamp Guy is just about 2 hours south of where I am. But we're hoping that this hurricane that's possibly coming. So in case you guys do not hear the show on Wednesday and or on Thursday, depending, because they are saying there is a 90% probability that this thing will turn into a major hurricane. We hope not, as we've been lucky so far in hurricane season, and we're at the peak of it right now until October and November. But this is right around the time of the year where we get the peak of it right until about mid-October, and then slowly starts kind of winding down, which seems like forever for most of us. But hey, for 2 months, I'll take it because the rest of the time is paradise here in Florida. But nonetheless, we have A.J. Brown that we're hoping to come back. And right now, there's not a whole bunch of wide receivers either, Duncan, that we can really go out there and pick up on, even on a week-to-week borrow basis, because you figure you had Kobe that came in for Brown, Devontae Smith, for a second. Yes, I get this super dry throat. But we have Devontae Smith that goes down now, banged up O-line. Who's out there that we can possibly borrow for a week?
Well, you drafted a guy, you want to bring him up from the practice squad. I know Williams is out there. I think you're going to run offense pretty much what you saw yesterday, right? You're going to see a lot of tight end sets. You're going to see a lot of Saquon Barkley. You're going to see a lot of, RPOs. That's the catch play here in the NFL for the last couple of years. But I think at this point, until you really get a timeline on Devontae and on AJ, you really don't go and mess it up, too much. They've got, what's his face? Zacchaeus is on the team. He's out there as well. So they'll dink and duck. They'll play with it a little bit. I pretty much am looking for a run game against Tampa, ball control. Probably going to be a little sloppy left over from the weather if you guys do, in fact, get some. They need to simplify the game, slow it down. Just keep slowing it down. Keep it simple. Don't overthink it. This early in the season, I don't know. I don't think you really go reach for anybody. But again, for me, I just keep coming back and forth. Like, what's the identity? What's the identity? Who are they going to be? Who are they going to be? And I don't know. Nick, we'll get better each week. We get better each week. We get better each week. Okay, I'm done. Like halfway through the game at halftime, everybody was sitting here on Twitter or on X, fire Sirianni, fire Nick, fire Nick, fire Nick, fire Nick. They win a game, and winning cures all, right? As long as you win, you overlook everything.
So hang on for a second. You're still in Philly. So you mean to tell me that now Monday morning, everybody's back on the Sirianni bandwagon?
Oh, yeah, no. Everybody's back on the fact that the Eagles won, and they're still like, well, we're going to give Nick another chance. They're getting better from what they're doing. The team came together. The defensive line played well. So it's, one more time into the breach, right? Let's see what we can do in Tampa and see how the fallout's going to be with that. But they are exactly who they are, right? They got a little pressure up front. The defense was still getting beat on the backside. C.J. Darden was all over the place. Slay got banged up. Just, it's building, right? It's a lot of talent, but building and coming together. We talked about this at the beginning of the year. New coordinators, new positions. You lose some veterans. Trying to find their identity. Having the injuries doesn't help, right? Now Lane Johnson possibly going to be out for a week concussion protocol. That's a big block up front. And thank goodness they're deep at offensive line, but everything turns on a dime, right?
Sure does. Definitely does. As we're getting close here to the 11 o'clock hour, and thank you all for tuning in. I am Angel Martinez. Martinez coming here live on Coastal Sports Network and Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Don't forget to visit sr1029thegame.com. Check out the content that's there. You guys can always go back on the Sports Radio tab and visit the past shows, as the audio and the replay will be there available for you guys. Pete's stuff will be up a little bit later on, just the way like my hermano from last week. His audio content is up there in the replay. So anytime you guys end up missing a show, you can always go back and listen in and watch as well. And you can also listen back on the app. So if you have not downloaded the app, I ask you guys, go ahead and download the app. Therefore, if you missed the show, you can always hear it back on the replay. But it is 11 o'clock here on the East Coast, and we thank you all for tuning in to the live show. Duncan Dad joining me here. Gaslamp Guy still on the line with us down in Fort Myers. And listen, this week, and by the way, because I know I am horrific when it comes to as far as keeping up with our weekly 5 picks. I know, obviously, by the way, did Lady DeLevon, because I don't remember getting from you. So did you write down our picks for her?
I did. I sent over the picks earlier. I have what we have right now, but we also are waiting on the Monday night game to wrap it all up. Yeah, Washington, Cincinnati. But we do have the results that are in if we want to go over the results.
Sure, go ahead.
Out of the gate, 4 games into this 5-game set. Gas Pump Guy is 3-1. Fuji is 1-3. Everyone else is 3-1 except for the Penguin AZ, who is a solid 4-0.
Wow. Look at Penguin AZ freaking taking off. And then the funny part is on Pigskin Pick'em, as and what I mean, I'm hanging on by a thread in first, because Gas Pump Guy has come out of the gate. It's 25-21 for myself, and then, excuse me, three-way tie. Let me take that back a little bit. Between myself, Gas Pump Guy, and Duncan Dad on Pigskin Pick'em, it's 25-21, which, because a couple teams, Gas Pump Guys, I looked at our picks. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Teams that should have won that didn't. But nonetheless, three-way tie between myself, Duncan Dad, and Gas Pump Guy. And then you have Fuji 20-24 in fourth. And I believe it's Rick, Super Bowl 52's picks one at 16-13. Levon 6, 14-15. And then the Penguin AZ down in seventh at 10-21. But there's still a long ways to go. We still got a good half of football left. We still got to get through September, which the final games are coming up here for the month of September. But this week in football, I swear, Vegas has got to be making money hand over fist. Am I wrong, Duncan Dad?
No, you're absolutely right. I was actually scrolling around the metaverse there earlier today, looking at the lines. They're off on the lines so much. I think there was like a 7 to 10 point little spread, little difference of what the line was given and what people were betting. It's just somebody is pushing some sort of agenda. And I wanted to tie it into what you talked about earlier with the Bulls and the Canes. Watched the first half of that game, was super excited. I was getting, nudged. Put on the other game. I'm like, no, I said right now, the Bulls are playing really well. I think they're holding Miami in check. It looks like a pretty even matchup. They're basically at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've got a little juice. The defense is playing very opportunistic. They pick off forward. Okay. Defense, coming up, make a couple sacks, forcing these. I was like, oh, this looks good. And then what happens? Right? There's one penalty. And then it just starts to snowball. And then you could see it was right before the end of the first half. USF got caught with some, I don't know, it was a legal man downfield or a shift or something like that. And it took away like a 7-8 yard gain. I was like, damn, there it is. I said, this is where the field's going to flip. Then you get into the weekend, right? Kansas City gets away with a blatant pass interference call in the end zone against Atlanta. Right? Earlier, you get Cincinnati against Kansas City again with another penalty. Mm-hmm. Even in the Dallas game yesterday, when they were coming back against Baltimore, there was a penalty against Dallas that wasn't called. I'm not saying certain teams get calls, but certain teams get calls. They completely missed the hit in the San Francisco game. Ayuk almost lost his head. Nope, no call. Just look at this a little bit. Just look into it.
No, Gasper, you said you would. You disagree?
Yeah, I'll say that certain teams get their penalties put in their favor. I'll say it for you, Duncan Dad. I'll go out on the record and say that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of kind of on that same note, you have Kirk Cousins with a disappointing loss. He says it was snatched, defeated from the jaws of victory tonight. This is credit to the Falcons website.
Disappointing night tonight. You feel like you snatched defeat from the jaws of victory is kind of how it felt a little bit, if I'm saying that right. It was a great atmosphere tonight. Our fan base was phenomenal. It was a great environment, and it was great to start fast. I was really proud of the way our defense held up in the second half and kept getting us the ball back, giving us opportunities. And, there's just plenty I can point to that wasn't good enough to win this game tonight, but still felt like it was right there for us to win, and when you don't do it, it leaves you with a pretty sickening feeling. So that's life in this league, and we got to build from it. And as we move forward now to the NFC South opponents here, we got to just figure out ways to be a better football team and be an ascending football team that plays complementary football off of each other, and certainly feel like we have the pieces we need to be successful, but there's obviously more out to go get to play better, to be able to win more consistently.
See, I'll take that from Kirk Cousins versus what Nick Sirianni was talking about, because that's confidence. That's, knowing that how close you were to winning that game, and then you just come up short. And again, Atlanta's not looking bad. In the beginning, you started wondering about some of the draft stock that they've been doing, but eventually they'll keep building upon that. But not even that. It's just Arthur Blank, I know sometimes he gets, a little bit of a bad rap, not too much, but I know it happens from time to time. Some people don't like Home Depot anymore, so they stick over with his best buddy that runs Lowe's. But you free hot dog, free Coke, free chips, for the ticket that you already paid for admission. And it wasn't like he jacked up the ticket price either, but smart though, because you got to think about it. You're giving away free food, and most of the cost in the stadium is about $5. But then people spend on merchandise. Listen, if you're going to do it right. But the Falcons are somewhat of a rebuild mode themselves. I think they'll get better. Kirk Cousins is looking Minnesota-esque-ish without what he had in Minnesota, but they're still hanging around. So Atlanta has nothing to really kind of feel down about. But yes, when you're going against the back-to-back Super Bowl champions, it is kind of tough. And I know somebody put out on social media as well that there was one call that went against the Falcons. It should have been the same call that should have gone against Kansas City earlier during the game, but it wasn't the case. Now, I know that we've made cases before. Is there favoritism when it comes to the NFL? Of course there is. We're not going to lie and say there isn't, except for some teams know how to get away with it versus other ones. There was in the game yesterday, and I want to say I think it was a Dallas game as well. I know that the Cowboys ended up pulling one of the Ravens, if I remember correctly, the wide receiver down by the horse collar, in which obviously it was picked up on it. But then later on, in retaliation, it was the opposite way, and it wasn't picked up. So some people, yes, they can turn a blind eye depending on what game it is that you're watching. But all I know is the penalties were coming fast and furious yesterday for that Cowboys game. But prior to that, you also had the earlier game during the week was the Jets over New England, 24-3. I'm just done with Rodgers. The Jets team, whatever. I think they can do so much better without him. But they're all in, I guess, whatever. So that's that. But then you have the New York Giants against Cleveland. Now I believe I chose them. Gasp guy, I think you also chose them for the weekly picks as well. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think so.
And then Duncan, Dad, you picked them as well, didn't you?
On the
Giants Browns.
I think on the pigs can pick them, yeah.
Yeah. So is any surprise there that the Giants finally, they find a way to win and beat Cleveland, because Cleveland, truthfully, really isn't that good either.
I think what you worry about early in the NFL season, we talked about this earlier in the program. I know you guys hit on it with Pete a lot. You set sort of a trend, right? Like who's going to show up,
mm-hmm.
And then it does. It snowballs, right? Oh, okay. Well, we got a call in our favor. Let's roll with it. Oh, we didn't get something in our favor. Oh, Lane just got hurt. Brenton's hurt. AJ's hurt. Covey's hurt. Eagles showed resilience, right? So in that instance, as an example, put that together, came back and moved forward. Had they been down, had they turned the ball over, it's very easy to pack it in. Very easy to pack it in. There's a lot of stuff going on in Cleveland. You're touted as this amazing defense. You gave up 21 points. Okay. Supposed to have the second coming again of Deshaun Watson. Supposed to have a retooled offense. Nick Chubb gets hurt. Starts the year on the injury reserve. But it's okay. You drafted Ford. You're going to play him. Still a little bit of juice. But that mentality, man, once you get into the minds of these players, pick a sport, it just snowballs. Look at the White Sox. They want to set a record, right? They want to be the team that goes down with the most losses. I think the Browns, they drank a little bit of their own Kool-Aid. I think the Cowboys drank a little bit of their own Kool-Aid, and they're getting smacked in the face with it. The team that didn't drink the Kool-Aid, the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers should be 3-0.
They should be.
They should be 3-0. They should be 3-0. We should be talking about them as one of the top 3, maybe 4 teams in this league. Easily.
Yeah.
And they're doing this now without Jordan Love.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Go ahead.
You're doing it without Jordan Love. Josh Jacobs is banged up. Reed is carrying them on their offensive side. Christian Watson stepping up, doing his thing, but still, teams will step up. Teams will fall back into their patterns, right? San Francisco, I'm sure they expected to go in to SoFi yesterday, have no problem with the Rams, even though they were down people personnel-wise. You've took away pretty much every option, every weapon, except for Kyron Williams that the Rams have. So you play Stafford and Williams. Line up against him, shut him down. Nope. Couple calls here, couple calls there, take a play off. Juwan Jennings went off. They should have won. Dude had like $170, couple touchdowns. Come on, man. But this headspace, this mentality, we should win, we should do this. And that's what's so dangerous when I think about these teams like the Eagles, when I think about these teams like Kansas City. Kansas City's playing horrible, and they're 3-0. Whether they got help or not from the refs, they're 3-0. They've yet to play a complete game this entire year. And that seems to be the case every single season when you go and look at Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Warm up, get in, get a couple wins here, my little call there, push forward, blah, 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 blah. Next thing you look up, they're 6-1, 7-1. Like, holy cow, how'd that happen? No, they're in cruise control. Now they can toy with a couple things, tinker with a couple things. You know, it's a headspace sort of thing. And eventually there's pride with these athletes. Was it Neighbors, the kid for the Giants?
Mm-hmm.
Stud wide receiver. Just got to give the quarterback time to throw him the ball.
No, you're right. I think we should get. By the way, I'm gonna call the Eagles today and let them know the Gascon guy is still available if we need a backup wide receiver. I'm pretty sure that you can suit up and still be good.
Well, they picked up Dotson, right? So Dotson's supposed to be this, missing piece, first round draft pick coming over from the Commanders, Redskins, still Redskins to me. And okay, let's work him into the offense. But the Eagles, they get so. Yesterday was probably the first time where they weren't, and throw the first game out of the equation, because the first game you're gonna go inside the toolbox, right? And you're like, oh, let's throw it all out there and see what works, right? But yesterday was like the first time it's like, okay, I need to work in something other than a wide receiver, right? I need to do some little bubble screens. I need to go to the tight end. I need to run the ball. I need to see if my quarterback can check down. But we still weren't making second reads.
Yep.
Come on.
Yep, we weren't. By the way, we're going to hang on that there for a second as we still got to pay some bills around here. I know usually I like to try and go as commercial-free as much as possible. When you run the network, you can do a lot of things, thankfully, but I want to make sure, obviously, that the people that pay good money to be able to go in here and put their spots up to make sure that they are being taken care of as well. So when we come back, we will get into Chicago and Minnesota and Pittsburgh, because I think Pittsburgh was also kind of I don't want to say much of a stunner game, but it was very, very surprising what Pittsburgh ended up doing yesterday. So Gascon guy, if you can hang out there for a little bit. And for everyone else, thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to visit sr1029thegame.com, like the folks in Finland, Australia, Africa now. Thank you very much for those guys coming in. The men and women from over at Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, who listen in on the Armed Forces Network, thank you guys as well for listening in. We do appreciate it. And everyone here stateside, we shall be back after some quick and short messages, and I promise it will not be as long as the first break, but again, we have to make sure we take care of stuff around here. But thank you all for joining us here on the Coastal Sports Network. I am Angel Martinez. Martinez coming live on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jimmy the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Jardiniere.
Phil Castanetti, Sports World in Saugus, Mass. is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Don't miss the return of the legend, former Bruins goalie Tim Thomas. Tim will be at Sports World on Saturday, October 5th from noon until 2 p.m. Tim will be signing and taking photos. Prices vary, so don't miss this awesome event. Saturday, October 5th at Sports World, 184 Broadway in Saugus, Massachusetts. Call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Eye on Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Eye on Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM, the game app, and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
And as I mentioned, welcome back to Martinez, coming here live on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, the game, also on the Coastal Sports Network. And I did say it wasn't going to be that long for break, so we'll make sure we got our sponsors in. Don't forget, if you guys are going to watch the game this Sunday, no better place to go to at 9316 Anderson Road in beautiful Tampa, Florida, where the Eagles faithful will be there just like they do every single week at Tampa Joe's. Visit tampajoes.com. Great food, outstanding people. You will never get a just disgusting beer, disgusting drink because you get fresh drinks. I don't care if it's iced tea. You will get the freshest iced tea at Tampa Joe's. Visit tampajoes.com. And by the way, if you are an Eagles fan, the folks over at Philly of the South on the Facebook page, if you guys want to join their Facebook group, you can go over to Philly of the South on their Facebook page. Tell them I sent you. I don't know. Maybe you'll get something out of it. But nonetheless, you guys can go over there and become one of the members here. Huh?
I said they'll send you a bill.
They probably would. Knowing Mikey, he probably would. But don't forget, you guys can visit him at 9316 Anderson Road out there this Sunday, as I'm pretty sure a lot of the guys and girls from Philly Sports Trip, where Vince Rizzuto and gang will be down here. It's going to be a great time. Hopefully the weather will not play too much of a factor, but we'll keep everybody updated because, again, in case you guys are tuning in just now, thank you for tuning in. But we do have a system that's coming up from the south that can end up wreaking some havoc here by the middle part of the week. So we'll see, because that will just, I mean, it's going to go up the East Coast. So it's just going to be a traffic nightmare for the weather, folks up in the air. So nonetheless, as we come back, Indianapolis and the Bears and Caleb Williams, this team, and guess what, I'll start with you, is that the Bears do not look, and no, we're not going to get into every single game because obviously we don't have the time to be watching every single game, but the Bears, I think, and just in my opinion, are not as bad as people make them one out to be. We know that they went 3-0 during the preseason, which means absolutely nothing, but the outcome could have been a little bit better. I think the Bears kind of put themselves in tough situations, but again, boneheaded penalties because they were. Colts ended up winning. Your thoughts on the Bears-Colts game?
Like you said, we didn't get to really watch every game, but I do think the Bears are better than everybody wants to put them out. I mean, the funny thing is not to get off subject, but just point out, Justin Fields was on the Bears and they said he was no good, but yeah, he went over to the Steelers and he's doing a great job over there. So I don't think the Bears are as bad. I think they're just giving him so much grief because they have a rookie quarterback. But Caleb Williams, he's doing his thing back there. They're giving him plays that he can work with, and he can look at the field. And the offensive line is doing pretty good from what I saw. That they're doing pretty good of keeping them kind of protected.
I think so, Duncan, Dad.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think the biggest word that comes to mind when you talk about the Bears and the Steelers is culture. Right? Mike Tomlin's got a culture in Pittsburgh. Eberflus in Chicago, they're building their culture. They got a lot of talent, a lot of young kids there, bringing DJ Moore over. Odunze's having a great little breakout season. But, Williams throws the ball 52 times. I hope he throws for over 350 yards. I hope he has 2 touchdowns. It'll take time for him to develop fully into the NFL quarterback that they expect him to be. But talk to my guys at Chicago Sports. Everybody resounding offensive line. If you want this kid to succeed, you've got to give him some protection. You've got to give him some time. Is he on par with the cerebral mentality of someone like a Peyton Manning? Can he move around? Can he take the hits? Can he put up all of these gaudy number throw-wise? Yeah, I mean, he probably can. He's a big dude, but at some point that's going to get very old. Colts, more established, good run game. Still got to stop Taylor. I think that's the reason why they probably pulled it out yesterday. But I think there's life if you're looking at Chicago, but I don't expect those results to be there immediately. We live in the right now world, so just be patient. If we're still having this conversation 3 years from now and the Bears have not retooled on the offensive line, they haven't given Caleb Williams more help protection-wise, if they haven't gone out and got a defensive playmaker, okay, yeah, then we can, maybe talk about missed opportunity. But it's growing. They're not not lighting the world on fire, but there's hope, right? There's a little spark there.
Sure is. I think one of the two surprising games of the weekend was, and I thought, and again, on my pigskin pick'em, I went with Houston. I didn't think Minnesota was going to be able to pull it out just the way Houston been playing as of late. But boy, you talk about a stunner of a win, 34-7. Minnesota now 3-0, undefeated. And who knew with Sam Darnold what was going to end up happening? Because again, they were relying upon their starter. He goes down with an injury. And they're now still undefeated. Houston 2-1 has lost their first one, but you got C.J. Stroud 20 of 31, 215 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. But then you go to Sam Darnold and it wasn't like he just, he was pounding the ball as much, but 17 for 28, 181 yards in the air, 4 touchdowns. And Sam Darnold is looking pretty daggone confident. If you're a team in need of a QB, and it's one of those things, and I know we'll get into the Panthers talk a little bit later as well, but you got Sam Darnold, which seems to have now kind of somewhat resurrected his career here in Minnesota. I'm pretty sure Minnesota will now hang on to him because they can see the potential that he has. Was this more surprising? And I'll start with you, Duncan, Dad, on this win versus the Texans, because I thought surely the Texans were going to beat Minnesota.
I didn't think the Vikings were going to be equipped enough on the defensive side of the ball to handle all of the offensive weapons that the Texans are going to be able to throw at them. I thought that Stroud would have taken advantage a little bit more on the passing side, maybe not really at RPOs, but when you have Tank Dell, you've got Nico Collins, you got Joe Mixon. I mean, there's enough offense on that Texan side of the ball. Kudos to the Vikings. I mean, kudos to the Vikings. They've shown up, and Darnold has definitely shown out for himself. He's doing exactly what he needs to do, right? He's playing within himself. He's playing with the field dimensions that they're giving him. So he's got 4 touchdowns. What does that mean? That means he's had a lot of short fields to work with, right? They played opening game versus the Giants, beat the Giants. Tough game versus the 49ers, held on, beat the 49ers. Second test, they beat the Texans at home and just eviscerated them. Next week, they go to Green Bay. Minnesota beats Green Bay next week in Green Bay. Yes, I know you've got Malik Willis up there, quarterback, as opposed to Jordan Love. Although Jordan Love could be back. We don't know. They won't commit. Is he going to be back? He's not going to be back. I think you really need to start considering, wow, maybe we looked at Tampa. Maybe we looked at New Orleans and said, wow, these guys are lighting the world on fire. But up here in the great Midwest, the Vikings in the skull, it's coming back. And they're playing really complete ball. And they weren't really given a shot out of the box. You draft J.J. McCarthy, he goes down, backup goes down. Now you're fishing to get Darnold. He comes in and he's, sorry for the pun, he's righted the ship, right? Yeah. These guys are moving right along. And that is, we talked about this in baseball, my friend, the other day. It's a dangerous team. When you give a team like that, who people have just thrown away and discarded, you're harboring Justin Jefferson up there, he's got nobody to throw to him, we're just locking him out over there. You give a team like that hope, you start adding these little wins on top of each other, and you're like, oh, well, we'll beat the Texans. Yeah, okay. Oh, and we beat the Niners. Oh, we just beat Green Bay. That goes a long way when you get into November, December, right? This is a team you should probably pay attention to. 2 interceptions yesterday from Stroud.
Yep.
Nothing for the Vikings. The total yards yesterday, 296 total yards for the Texans.
It seems like nothing.
Seems like nothing. It's like nothing, right? Come on.
It's all right. We're gonna there's a lot of football still left, but I was surprised. And guess what, guy? I believe, call me crazy, but I also believe you also picked the Texans. Am I correct?
Yes, actually, I'm as you started talking about it, like, damn, did I pick the Texans or did I pick the Vikings? No, I picked the Texans.
Yeah. It's listen, again, it's any given Sunday. I think this is, you gotta, and again, I referred it back to Vegas, and Vegas, you guys are welcome because I've been here a couple of times. Thankfully, with my beautiful wife now. We went before as a couple, then we were engaged, and now we've yet to go back as a married couple, but I'm pretty sure we'll end up doing so. But Vegas has got to be extremely, extremely happy. There's no way in the world you're telling me, because I'm pretty sure they're getting more in versus paying out. But when, now week 4, maybe things will change. But it's surprising to me how things have worked out. Now we go to the Steelers and Chargers game. Chargers now 2-1, Steelers 3-0. And I know I'm one of those guys that I thought maybe Mike Tomlin, it's kind of tough when it comes to this team because he's still has never finished under 500. Yet to finish under 500. Yet somehow or another, he finds that lightning and that magic in a bottle. Now, Justin Fields, I know that Bears fans, they are really enjoying Caleb Williams. I think he's going to do well for Chicago. But I mentioned last year when the NFL season came to a close, I don't believe it was Justin Fields' fault in Chicago. Now, fast forward, here we are with now said Steelers with Justin. Am I wrong? And I'll go to Guess One Guy first. Am I wrong in thinking that maybe it was more of the Bears' fault of not showing him how to be a better quarterback versus the Steelers? Guess One Guy.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, just to touch on what Duncan Dad had said earlier about, it's all excuse me, it's all on how the chemistry or the swagger that you have. So per se,
Mm-hmm.
Tomlin, he's a hard coach, man. He's not going to take any crap, and he's going to push you and push you and push you because he knows what you can do. Tomlin has always been good at that. I mean, look at Ben Roethlisberger. He made Ben Roethlisberger. I think he helped Ben Roethlisberger more than anybody else could have at the time because he knew that Roethlisberger was big enough to be a good quarterback, and he ran a lot too. I mean, he's taking some shots. Hopefully, Justin Fields doesn't do that, but I think Tomlin is the right fit for Justin Fields, and it's showing right now. I mean, he's got him at doing a good job with Justin's, and yeah, I don't think it's not that the Bears weren't committed to Justin. I think they just gave up on him too early.
That's what I believe. And again, I think one other person I can possibly ask as he joins us here on the party line, as I like to call it here, on and those who want to call or text on our line, you can do so 727-858-6650, which is Mike Fuji, which Fuji, I know you're the most ultimate Bears fan out there possible, and it's okay. You can tell everybody. You can tell them. I get it. I know you have a Fields jersey in your closet, but listen, your thoughts
of that Brady
none whatsoever. But your thoughts on Justin Fields? Obviously, Pittsburgh is reaping the rewards that Chicago couldn't do.
I mean, it's I really haven't seen any Pittsburgh games, but I guess Fields is doing a better job than Russell Wilson, but I think it's probably ultimately that defense that's playing lights out. I mean, 3-0 right out of the gate. I mean, you got to give Justin Fields some credit too. I just don't understand that organization, but it's like I think they kind of gave up on Fields a little too early, but it's what it is, and Pittsburgh's 3-0, and we'll see what Justin Fields does the rest of the way out.
I'm going to switch gears here momentarily before I get to Duncan Dad, because I want to get your thoughts. I asked you, Fuji, last week, are the Phillies going to win the division? And I asked for a simple reason, right? You are confident. Of course they're going to win the division. How confident are you now?
I don't know what's going on with that team. I mean, I think Harper's definitely playing hurt. I think they're going to clinch it. They'll clinch it tonight. Probably just wanted to clinch it at home.
Okay.
But I don't know. Going into the playoffs, I mean, you got to really think. There are definitely some questions of this team going forward, especially fighting for that number one wild card.
All right. Duncan, add two-parter here. Obviously, we'll get into Justin Fields talk, but we'll pick up on Fuji's Phillies, and then want to get your thoughts as well on Justin Fields.
It's the old Lloyd Bridges scene from Airplane, right? Picked a hell of a week to quit drinking. Picked a hell of a week to quit smoking. Picked a hell of a week to quit sniffing gas, right? Or glue. Yeah, right? So horrible time to drop 3 out of 4 to New York and give them a lot of hope and momentum. We talked about this earlier with one of the other teams, right? Giving these teams hope going into the playoffs is not a good team. I was talking with my friend Anthony. I'm saying that they remind me right now of that 07, 08 years for the Phillies where there's a little bit of juice. Not really expected a whole lot. They got a veteran guy over there in Alonso. Garrett's good back end side. Nemo's good. Lindor unfortunately got hurt, but okay, so they got a little juice. That's a dangerous team, especially in baseball, especially in short series, especially when they could run into a point where they may actually have to host, a first round game or a first round series. It feels they need to have had wrapped this up 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Harper needs to rest. Wheeler needs to rest. Ranger, I would have put him on the 10-day DL and just given him 2 weeks off. He's got to get some kind of velocity back on his arm. Nola, you cover your eyes and you just hope that you get the end of September, beginning of October Nola, where he gives up the solo home run or the 2-run home run early in the game, and then he settles down for the next 4 or 5. But the one thing that's always been the linchpin with this team is that they can be very explosive or very anemic. And when they go into these stretches where they're anemic and they're searching and looking for runs, it is very, very difficult. Culture, right? Identity. It permeates. It comes all the way through that lineup. You had series last year where they played Arizona. Shout out to Penguin AZ, right? They had series last year where they played Atlanta. You can't have your top 4 guys. You can't have 6 out of your top 7 guys go 1 for 16 in the game.
Yep.
That's not going to work. And you look at some of these box scores over the last couple of days. This is what's happening. Oh, no, but Harper hit a home run. Oh, Bohm hit a 3-run home run. Oh, they exploded for 12 runs. One game, they exploded for 12 runs. One game. Other than that, they're scratching and clawing to get 2 or 3 runs. This team should be putting up 5, 6, 7 runs without even thinking. Not happening. And now you call into the fact that the pitching is a little shaky, maybe a lot shaky, as to where it was the beginning of the year. It wears. Baseball is a marathon. And when what do they call that? When you're running, right? The kick, right? When you get around that last third turn, you get that final kick as you're pushing towards home, you don't want to be fading, right? You don't want to be fading. You want to, that's where you want to Prefontaine, lock it in, and run through the finish line. Look around MLB right now. There's some teams that are coasting down that final stretch, and you have other teams that are sprinting to that finish, and they look fresh. They look engaged. And little, quiet. These teams that are sitting right in the middle, 3 seeds, 4 seeds, picking up momentum. Nobody's talking about Detroit. Scary team. They came all the way back. Kansas City, good for them. Can't drop 6 games in a row.
Sure can. Now, your thoughts along with that, as obviously as well, switch gears back, and I'm trying to look for something because I'm hoping that what we experienced last season doesn't happen again. But I want to get your thoughts as well when it comes to Justin Fields, because again, you have 2 different OC coordinators, 2 different QB coaches, and obviously a different in head coaches. And look at the difference in Justin Fields.
The reason why Justin Fields didn't work in Chicago wasn't because of Justin Fields, right? It was because of the head coach. We talk about this all the time in the NFL, specifically marrying the quarterback and the head coach. Sometimes you can coexist. Sometimes you can't coexist. Sometimes you have this power struggle of, I have all this talent, but I'm asking you to do X, Y, and Z. At some point, someone has to yield, right? Eberflus, he wasn't going to yield. And Chicago, at that point, wasn't going to bring in other weapons to support the Justin Fields experiment. You don't rush for 200 yards in a game as a quarterback, throw for a couple other touchdowns, and just be a flash in the pan. You say the same thing about Kyler Murray in Arizona. Sure, he's undersized. Sure, he has to compensate for some of that. But so is Drew Brees. But if you give him the time, you give him the weapons, you give him the personnel, you give him a system to work in that is beneficial to his skill set, he'll succeed. Pittsburgh has an identity. Pittsburgh has a culture. Gas Pump Guy hit on it, right? 32 times throw the ball yesterday, 31 times run the ball yesterday. They are a balanced attack. And their defense is playing how a Pittsburgh defense should play, right? That's what Pittsburgh defenses do. They hold, they don't break, a lot of pressure up front. And shout out to A Bear out there in LA Charger land or whatever. Hate to see him in the walking boot after the game. Guy cannot catch a break with being healthy. Guy can't catch a break being healthy. They were supposed to be all in yesterday. They were getting J.K. Dobbins was running all over the place. Quentin Johnson, Len McKinney, like decent talent on the outside, but if Bear's not healthy, can't stay in the game, you're not going to win games.
They're not. I was trying to find something, and maybe I'll come across before I get off air here. Joey B, by the way, says, good morning, Angel, Duncan, Dad, Fuji, and Gaspam Guy. Fall is here in Colorado, dusting off the snow over the weekend in the mountains. Enjoy the palm trees in Southwest Florida. Oh, if you listen, it's too early for snow for me. Sorry. Lots of Broncos fans flying back to Denver today with the reverse sunburns. That they were. They definitely were, Joey B, because they definitely end up taking over Ray J for sure. But listen, we are expecting a hurricane to come through here. I did snow. I don't miss it. I swear I don't miss it. I will dodge the hurricane bullet for 2 months over the snow. I just, no, thank you whatsoever.
I'll take snow.
Rather have the hurricane than the snow.
No, I'll take snow, man.
Yeah. Sorry. Listen, you can possibly end up dodging the bullet for sure when it comes to the snow. I mean, it may not be, fans for everybody, but you can dodge that bullet. So I'm hoping we'll dodge it again. It's going to be tough, but screw that. Why would I want to be cold? I don't for the life of me, I really don't understand why. And it drives, even when I lived in Philly, it made no sense. 6 ABC, KYW, who else am I missing? NBC 10. It would crack me up when it would come around March. Like, oh, I can't wait.
The weather must have gotten to Angel. I don't know what's happening over there.
No, it makes me laugh when it comes to
see what's happening over there.
When it comes to the local forecast.
Bring him back up. Give us 1 second, guys.
I'm still here. Duncan Dad must have. He's going to refresh. Yeah, no. I think Duncan Dad had a refresh. He said what happened to me. He had a refresh. But no, hey, listen. Again, Philly weather cracks me up. Fuji, you know about this as well because it makes me laugh. Like every single time, like come March, you're like, oh my God, I can't wait for it to get warm. And then the summer rolls around, and the first thing out of your mouth is like, oh my God, it's too hot. I can't wait for it to get cold. Fuji, you can have it.
It's feast or famine. You can't run over here.
You can't.
Not in this part of the country.
You can't. It's just
luckily, we really haven't had the winters like we used to have. I don't mind the cold.
If you guys can hear me out there, I'm waiting on Angel to come back on his end. Probably a little problem with the weather maybe down there in South Florida. Who knows? Joey B's asking in the chat, what's your guys' thoughts on Bryce Young? Is he done in Carolina? I think Dalton gives him 2 or 3 more years of leadership. You get what you do in Carolina. Absolutely. Carolina is it's a rebuild, right? It's definitely a rebuild. Sanders, I'm not sold on Shador all the way, but he's going to be the top pick, just probably out of namesake alone. He's got some talent. He makes some throws. I got to see a little more of his attitude. Bryce Young, I think if you're Carolina, you do yourself a favor and you start fishing out some options for Bryce Young. Maybe you can get a couple draft picks back for him. I know there's a lot of teams out there that would probably like to take him on as a quarterback, maybe work him up, develop him a little bit. But Carolina in and of itself has a lot more going on than just looking for a quarterback problem. I know later on today we have 2 Monday night football games. I'm getting some messages right now from Angel to see what's happening. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back, guys.
Hang on, because Gaspam guy, Duncan Dad, he thought that we were off, and I just sent him a text and a picture letting him know that we're still alive. So he thought that we were off for some reason, and I think it's just on his end where he can't. Something's going on where he can't see or hear us for some reason, but it happens. But I'm saying, what were you saying there, Fuj?
No, I was saying, I think, the trade deadline's like week 7, week 8. I was asking Duncan Dad, I said, can you actually see Bryce Young being traded? I mean, now that Miami, with Tua, I mean, they're already in the, it looks like they're already falling off. So I wouldn't be shocked if Miami would reach out to Carolina for Bryce Young.
Yeah, that's what No, you're right, because we had mentioned earlier, Duncan Dan and I actually, guessed one guy even had mentioned it as far as when it comes to Bryce Young earlier on. But no, if you're Miami, why wouldn't you? What's the worst that can happen? If you get Bryce, first of all, I mean, we still, matter of fact, I want to, because it's been a lot less talk when it comes to Tua as of late. 11:40 here, as we've already passed the bottom half of the hour. You guys are listening to Martinez, the company. I'm Angel Martinez. Duncan Dad joins me, Gaspam Guy on the line, along with Mike Fuji out in Philly for Myers. Thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to download the all-new, brand-new sports digital app on sr1029thegame.com. Give the shows a follow at CSN Florida, along with SR1029 The Game. Therefore, when we're live, you don't miss a thing. And there's a comment that ended up coming in, which is Joey B. Which Joey B had two questions, by the way, and I'll get him in a second, because I'm pretty sure I also want to get Joey B's question on this as well. So, Joey B, hang on for a second. I will get your comments here. But if Tua gets cleared, and Duncan Dad, I'll start with you here real quick, but would you be the one, or would you be that doctor to turn around and be like, you know what, here's your pass, you go back in there? Or will you always have in the back of your mind, and I know you're supposed to do the right thing as a physician, but what happens if let's just say they bring him back next week, not this week, following week you bring him back, and he gets his bell rung one more time? How would you feel if you're the doctor and said, nah, he's good to go?
No. I've been pretty clear on this stance, and I'll continue to say that there's no way that I put my name on a piece of paper next to Tua Tagovailoa's name. I couldn't, in my good conscience, be the one who sends him back out to either get his bell rung or potentially end his career. Now you've got a game at home on Monday night versus the Titans that's coming up. I think you guys alluded to it. Reach out. The Panthers are looking to fish Bryce Young, right? They're looking to get something for him. They're obviously setting themselves up for the Sanders sweepstakes. That's going to be the number one pick, regardless of how or what he is. I don't know. It's going to be to his decision. I'm sure everyone's going to support him, but I'll be sitting there with the countdown click plays until he's, and unfortunately, and I don't want to see it, right? I don't want to wish that on him, and I'm like, oh my God, but I don't know. I just don't think he can do that. Now they've got the break coming up after the following week against the Colts, against the Patriots, and then they got the break going into October. But do you, to answer the question, sign off on putting him back out there? I just don't see how in good conscience you could do it. I just don't see how you could do it. And this isn't football. This isn't, taking away some guy's money. This isn't, anything except for just quality of life. It's just quality of life. And I know we talk about this all the time, but, if they're really concerned about player safety, then league, it's time for you to put on your, big boy or big girl pants and step in and say, that's it. Like we're going to make this decision for you. You're not going to do it. And they fight us, tied up in litigation, but I don't think you get in front of any judge. Any judge is going to sit there and agree with the party, say, hey, you want to jump off the bridge? Okay, go ahead. You can jump off the bridge. But you're not jumping off the bridge with everybody in tow.
Yep, it's true. And then I did see my hermano who made a comment, as he just said, man, and to think that I got hammered when I said it in August, that Fields will be the quarterback one with Steelers, even before we knew that Russ was dealing with the calf issues. You ride with this kid. Hashtag Justin Fields, which is which is true. Very, very true. But I know that I mentioned when he left out of Chicago as well. Just like my hermano, by the way, who comes on from 4 to 6 p.m. here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the Coastal Sports Network. You guys can listen to the Drive with Q later on this afternoon at 4 o'clock, and then Lloyd will be on at 8 o'clock. So, it brings up a great point. But I also want to get back to this as well with Joey B's comment before I get everybody else's thoughts. But Joey B says, what do you guys think, your thoughts on Bryce Young? Is he done in Carolina? And I think Dalton gives them 2 or 3 more years of leadership. And you know what? You got a QB. I think Carolina should draft Shedeur. Whoa, hey, slow down. Slow down. I don't think the Panthers want to go up. I don't think the Panthers, and not listen, before the Shedeur fans jump all over my case, I don't think if you're or you know what, I could be wrong. But if the Carolina Panthers are looking to rebuild literally from the bottom all the way up, maybe you go with Shedeur. But I don't see the Panthers reaching out for Shedeur. I could be wrong. Guess I'm glad your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't look. I like Shedeur. He's good, but like Duncan Dad touched on earlier, you know, like how is his demeanor off the field? Like how is he with his teammates? You know, is he a good guy? You know, talks to everybody, and not to bring Baker into this, but Baker's a good example. He's on the sideline. He's talking to everybody. He's getting engaged with everybody. He's trying to keep everybody on the same page. Didn't do that good this Sunday doing that, but you know, it's football. So I personally, I don't think they should go after Shedeur. Not only that he has the namesake, but at the same time, just think of all the stuff that's going to come along with that. What's Dion going to do? You know, is he going to try to get in there and, you know, make it all about him? And, you know, like he has at Colorado, you know, you got to think about stuff like that. So me personally, I don't think the Panthers should go after him, but if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. And another thing I wanted to say was, do we think that Bryce Young is really bad, or do we think that he's not having a good coach to help coach him? You know, kind of like the Justin Fields type thing. You know, is the coaching there just giving up completely? Because I don't think they're the ones that they don't see him progressing as good as he should. But on the same time, is there a coach there that's helping, pushing him, making him better, or is they're just giving him plays and if you do it, then whatever, but you're not doing it good enough, so we're getting rid of you? That's just my thought.
Fuji?
Oh, it's, you know, I mean, just, you know, you could have all that talent in the world, but if you have character flaws, like, you know, I don't want a guy on the Eagles, you know, it's just going to be about me, because guess what? That locker room's just going to be, you know, just cancer, and you don't need that. You know, that's why you look at, you know, they do all these background checks and interviews before the team goes out and decides, you know, whether they want to draft, you know, somebody with a big ego, and it's whether they're selfish or not. But I'd stay away from it. I mean, just depending on, you know, and I know we all got flaws, but still, like, you don't want to draft a guy that's, you know, just going to be, you know, the whole spotlight on me and the team effort.
Hey, your Metro PCS phone, it cut out, so we'll go to Duncan Dad.
No, you're absolutely right. This is, you know, beating a dead horse with these guys. But we went from Jacksonville State. We went to Colorado. Where Shedeur goes, you're probably going to see Dion follow, right? Carolina's looking for a coach. They haven't had a solid coach in a little bit. You saw what they did to Matt Rule. Get out of town now where he's at, right? And he's out there making some moves with Nebraska. So it's a package deal with that kid, right? It's always been a package deal with that kid. I was never big on Bryce Young coming out of college. He wasn't my guy. I was always on the CJ Stroud train. Mm-hmm. I just thought he was more quick for what the NFL was looking for, a little bigger, faster, stronger, better arm, read a little more defense, wasn't as protected within the Ohio State offense. I think a lot of times you get these college quarterbacks that come out and they're so ingrained in this talent-rich environment that when you put them out into the real world with real team and real competition, like, oh, wait a minute, this is big boy game now, and we have to make adjust. I can't just rely on Marvin Harrison Jr. on one side and Chris Olave on the other side. I want to build a good locker room, right? Sports for me is like, sometimes you need the TOs, right? Sometimes you need the TOs. Sometimes you need the, you know, you need James Hardens, right? But how many championships those guys have?
0.
Yep.
Nothing. They got nothing.
By the way, I'm going to get to you, Joey, before I get to his second to last comment, but Joey B says, that's how I like to kid on it as well, Fuji's cell connection is worse than the connection of Bryce Young's passes to his wide receivers in Carolina, which is true. Listen.
If he had wide receivers.
Get off that Metro PCS line, will you, Fuji?
Get rid of the burner.
Yeah, burner from that would probably be more effective, more efficient.
We'll get rid of the burner.
Good. Listen, switch from Metro PCS, will you? Even Cricket does a better job in filling the Metro PCS.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know? I didn't know that's what I had.
Listen, wild guess, but you can listen. Cricket, you guys want to be a sponsor? By all means, go ahead. And matter of fact, if you like to be a sponsor, I would just go ahead and give Fuji about 4 months worth of cell service, and he can see the difference between you guys and Metro PCS. But go ahead, Fuji. And just like that.
Right on cue.
What was the question?
Right, now, listen, once again, shake your Metro PCS phone like a beeper, and hopefully you guys you'll be able to hear it. I said, when it comes to, we're talking about Bryce Young.
I know. Well, I obviously didn't hear what I was saying before about Shedeur Sanders.
Oh. So I'm sorry. Let me bring that back. So Joey B said, his comment was, what our thoughts were on Bryce Young if he's done in Carolina, and he thinks that Dalton would have 2 more 3 years of leadership. You know, they got a QB as far as the Carolinas. Should they draft Shedeur Sanders?
I mean, to me, it just comes down to his, he's got the talent, but, if he has character issues, as I was saying, obviously you didn't hear me, but I don't know, this is why these teams interview these guys, they interview pre-draft because they want to see what kind of character you got. If you're a selfish player, if you're not a selfish player. I mean, as of right now, it all depends on if it's just all about him. No, because you don't need a cancer in the locker room. I don't want to build a franchise around a guy that's just going to be about himself. Absolutely not.
Correct. Somebody rubbing something back and forth.
Oh, sorry. I was doing a little painting. I didn't know if you could hear it or not.
Yeah.
What are you painting?
Doing a little touch up.
What are you painting?
He's putting the trim in.
I do screen lanais at work, and there was a couple scratches, so I had to do a little touch up so the customer doesn't see it.
I was just being smart ass.
Well, hey, I like to keep people informed, Fuge.
I hear you. I appreciate it.
Last game they're going to get into, because we're quickly coming up on it here, is 11:52 here on the East Coast. Is Joey B says, Angel USC to the Pac-12, joining my Colorado State Rams in the Pac-12 reboot. If I'm going to Fort Collins for a USF football game in 2027, if it would happen, I don't believe so. From what I understand, that could have been a very bad rumor that was put to be put out there, but I don't know. We'll see. Things can happen. You never know. Gas from Guy is, by the way, Joey B says, painting while doing a segment, LOL, epic. That's what we do around here.
We're multitaskers around here.
Exactly. Last game that I want to bring up here real quick as we get ready to wrap up the show, you have Carolina that we just ironically been talking about, and obviously Vegas that we mentioned even throughout the show as far as the Vegas odds. So you bring in the redheaded stepchild into Carolina, and all of a sudden Vegas doesn't know how to play, yet you make Andy Dalton look better. I want to know how many fans in Carolina now are going to come back and they'll start wearing Dalton jerseys because they figure like we finally got our answer. But in the meantime, I think Bryce Young has never been done right. And even with BJ Daniels being out there, left from USF, went over, got hired by Carolina Panthers. I'm just hoping they really don't throw this kid like somewhere like they did with Harry Roseman when Chip Kelly was around and just put him in there for the loss. If you're not going to utilize him, trade him. There's a team that can use his services, especially early on. So let him show his value and his worth. So that being said, Fuji, real quick, your thoughts on a redheaded stepchild?
I just think he's, just filling in to be the quarterback for the season. I know he's bounced around the league, the last couple of years, and just can never get it going in Cincinnati. I don't think the Red Rifle is in Carolina for long term. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, the way Carolina is now, you got to go out and draft another quarterback. Just obviously get something for Bryce Young and move on, and hopefully, you can build around a quarterback for the future. In my take.
By the way, Joey B says, is Gas Pump Guy now driving a 7-Eleven to buy Fuji a new burner phone? Was that an open door noise from his vehicle? And one never knows. Let's see. guess, matter of fact, here's a quick one as we close out the show here. Just because my thoughts, and only because of what Joey B made his comments as far as the Pac-12, let's say hypothetically the Panthers end up being the worst team in the NFL. How big of a boost, and I'll go with you, Gaspam Guy, because being a Canes fan that you are, how much of a major improvement Cam Ward drafted the Carolina Panthers?
Well, first and foremost, I'd be very, very upset because they're in our division. But I think Cam Ward would do really well at the Panthers. I think he has that right attitude. He's definitely got the talent. He's definitely a guy that can lead a team. And, I mean, he's awesome. That's as plain as I can put it. He's a good dude. I like him. And hopefully he doesn't go this year and he stays one more year. So us Hurricane fans can get at least like 2 seasons of some good stuff going on. But I would be mad, but I wouldn't be mad because he'd be good at the Panthers. But at the same time, like I said before, he's in our division, so I'd be upset about that. But I think he'd be a good fit.
All right, Doug and Dad, final thoughts?
On Cam Ward going to the Panthers or the Panthers in general? On Cam Ward and Panthers.
Hypothetically, again, that's only if they end up being the worst team in the NFL. Might be the Cowboys, but who knows?
Oh, Dallas dig. Nice.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think he's shown a lot of qualities as a college quarterback. I love the fact that he is a senior. I'm a big proponent of individuals going to the NFL, especially quarterbacks. You have junior anomalies every now and then, but senior quarterbacks playing in a system, they bring that extra gene with them when they come to the NFL. Carolina, it's a hit or miss. It's a hit or miss situation, right? They need to fortify the offensive line. Need to make sure that their running back stays healthy. They need to make sure that their young wide receivers stay locked up. But he'll probably have he'll have success where he goes, provided he stays healthy.
I think so. I mean, I would really love to see this kid end up doing well. And even though, guess what? I really didn't think about it either being in a division that'd be tough because you have at least, I would say, about 4 more years out of Baker Mayfield. But if you're looking for the future,
Ward has those intangibles that people will throw onto paper, right? And they're like, oh, this is why this guy should be drafted high. This is why he, should be the Heisman winner. He has a touch on his passes. He has zip on his passes. He has really good field vision. He knows how to manipulate and use the pocket. He's NFL ready in that sort of offensive mentality. Those are things that a lot of times you have these kids that come out of college, they get into the NFL, and you've got to teach them because they've never played behind a line that has made them do anything other than take the ball and run or take the ball, roll out, and throw. Why you have somebody like Jaden Daniels succeeding this year, right? He played in LSU. It's a pro-style offense. He has a lot of weapons. They mix it up between runs. They mix it up between passes. He knows when to take off. And he also stayed, right? I mean, he's a mature quarterback, a mature athlete. Ward, he's got a howitzer for his arm. The pass he made down the sideline, I mean, he had a 4-foot little box window right in the box. And it was beautiful, beautiful pass. But those kind of guys, they're a leg up coming to the NFL. So even you get into a situation in Carolina where you have a little, you have success. And put them in division. I mean, hey, that's the NFL, right?
Yep, definitely. All right. We're going to wrap up the show on that behalf right there. Don't forget that coming up this weekend as USF, even though they went down to the Miami Hurricanes, they're coming up Saturday, 12 o'clock against Tulane in Tulane. And then they are home back again October 11th. That will be against Memphis. Memphis lost over to Navy, so that would end up helping as well. As Joey B, we had mentioned earlier about Sam Darnold. So you missed out on that one. And he says, take care, fellas. Great show. Appreciate it, Joey B. Thank you to Gaspam Guy. Listen, we try to get a bunch of great topics here as much as I possibly can. But thanks to Gaspam Guy with his weekly report from the Bucs. Mike Fuji from Philly, even though you can't blame him for being on a Metro PCS phone. Hopefully by the time he comes back on Friday, he'll be with Cricket. And nonetheless, and thanks to Duncan Dad. To my lovely wife and producer over in Studio B, we can't thank Debbie enough for everything she does for the love and support. Thank you guys as well, you, the listeners and the viewers all around our great nation and all around the world for not only downloading the app, but coming back to watch the show, especially since we are Southwest Florida's newest game in town as we cover everything here in South Florida for you, the listeners. So we can't thank you guys enough. Download the app, SR1029thegame.com. Don't forget, you can always go back and watch and listen to the replay over on SR1029thegame.com, over on the sports radio tab, and just check out the content that's up there as well on the website. So thank you all. We appreciate it. We will talk to you once again on Wednesday. Don't forget, the Drive with Q will be on later on today from 4 to 6. And then this evening, Lloyd Vance, Insider Football. So with that being said, I'm Angel Martinez. For Martinez Company, have yourselves a great rest of your day.
Go Birds.
See you guys.
Gaspam Guy, thank you so much, as always.
Take care.
Take care, guys.
You
Until
too.
next.
Well,